Hello and welcome to another live stream from Fantasy Football Scout. It's deadline day. I don't usually do the deadline stream. I usually do the team news and I usually do the goals imminent video and a bit of a team reveal for me. So I'm going to mix in some of those elements of those videos that I've been in during the week, but also we're going to be looking at the latest of the what's been going on in terms of the lineup news, because that's important for when we get that. Welcome to those early birds joining us in the live chat. Liam, we see there is early. Watkins has been seen in training. Is he definitely out or plays Sunday? He says, and Brian has given me a wave. Now, I'm not getting any playback on my my YouTube studio setup, so do let me know that you can see and hear me. That would be very useful. FPL Rank Chaser has joined us. Good afternoon, John T, using my old stage name from Fantasy Football Scouts comment boards. Great to have you live streaming again. And Pratik says hi. Lil says hi all as well. Do let me know that you can see and hear me as well, because I'm not getting any playback. Omar has joined us as well from the hi from Pakistan. I hope you can all see and hear me fine. Okay, before we go on, first time joining live stream, love your work, says Leon. Thanks very much. Before we get underway, just a reminder. Brian says all good, so you can see and hear me. Great stuff. Just a reminder that there's a 7-day free trial going on at Fantasy Football Scout in the members area. So hop over there. We've got the website address up on the screen as well, fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. You can save 20% as well. So lots of good offers there. It's been recommended that you can start on a Saturday as well, because then you can get the latest stats from those matches. So it's a good way to sort of check out the members area. Sort of try it out before you commit to perhaps longer term. Okay, what we do. So yesterday I did the team news roundup with Neil, Fantasy Football Scouts editor. So he'd been looking at all the press conferences. So lots and lots of tweets went up, have been going up there. So I do a roundup bit of there at the end of that stream. So I'll put that up again just as a quick reminder of what's going on. Just welcome more who are joining us in the live chat as well. Hamza, Uproar, Andy, Nash, Lards, Homefern, and many more. Thanks there. Greetings from Pakistan, from Omar there. And we had loads from Canada and Africa yesterday as well. So do let us know where you're tuning in from as well. There'll be plenty of chance to ask questions as well in the deadline stream, because it's a bit later than usual. We've got the... So we're starting at 12:30 here. The deadline is actually 1:30 today. So we're going to go right up to that deadline there. And any news that comes in that a spot, I will let you know. Okay, let's have a look at yesterday's team news roundup. So this was the latest really ahead of Gameweek 14 based on, I put the key players here. So apologies if you want some injury news on a particular Sheffield United defender or midfielder or someone like that. I put up the sort of key players that I think that we're going to be interested in or already in our teams as well. So fit to play. We've got John Stones. He's fine. Kovacic is fine as well, so there could be some rotation there. Kabore at Luton, he's back. Questionable though. Calvert-Lewin has some tightness. Watkins, small pain. Now, Ollie Watkins, will he play or won't he play? So that's going to be influential on my decision. So I'll put my team up because do I or don't I currently have Ollie Watkins in my team? I did do up until this moment, but we'll see. We'll see if he's still there, whether I've taken the plunge on another striker or not. But he had a small pain, missed out in Europe. And as far as we know, he's 50-50. Could play, might not play. We haven't had any concrete news yet as well. So if anyone sees anything in the live chat, do let us know. But I'll also try and keep tabs on Twitter, etc. Or now X, as I should say. Nkunku. Fitness problems could keep him out, could keep him in. We could see some minutes from Nkunku at Chelsea. Well, that will be interesting, especially those that invest in Palmer. Perhaps Nkunku could be better. I don't know. Maybe his minutes will influence Palmer. Mason Mount is back. No one's going to be interested in him. So it doesn't matter whether he's back or not. But he's questionable. Could be back, might not be. Bowen as well. We don't know the latest there. David Moyes is being very, very annoying in his press conferences. But I guess, to be fair, he's not a fantasy football manager. He's a proper manager. And he clearly knows something about Bowen. Could Bowen start? Well, Bowen's in my team. So it's a decision to be made about whether he exits or not. I personally don't like it. This is 2 press conferences in a row where we've got news there that Bowen was like, oh, he might play, might not. But he hasn't been. I haven't seen anything of him in training. So he hasn't been in training. He's had fluid on the knee. So that's caused from a sort of a trauma, really, to the knee. And might be fit, might not be. But we don't like question marks as fantasy football managers. Meanwhile, Luton Nakamba is back, is questionable rather. So could be back, might not be. Meanwhile, major doubts, probably out. Richarlison is actually coming back from fitness from surgery. But yeah, I mean, pretty much out. Anana Everton injury there is going to keep him out. Meanwhile, loads and loads of out. Sarr injured, Bentancur injured, James suspended, Cucurella suspended. So, and Gusto got an injury as well, undergoing rehab. So I'm not sure who is actually going to play at fullback. A lot of their fullbacks have gone there. So that could be potentially news for Brighton's wingers, who are probably going to be Matoma and Dingra, but you never know with rotation and De Zerbi. Decore at Palace is out, Achilles injury, so it's going to keep him out probably for the season. Eze foot injury, so that he's going to be out for this game. I'm not sure when he's going back. We'll check the next team news. We're going to have a team news video again ahead of Gameweek 15 and next, when we deadline, Tuesday, that'll be. Meanwhile, Lloyd Kelly is injured. I don't usually put a Bournemouth defender up on these charts, but that could be good news for Villa attackers who face Bournemouth, because Kelly's been a bit of a mainstay. There, Nori ankle problems going to keep him out. He could actually be back. There were reports earlier in the week that he'll be out for months, but he might be back in a week or two. So we'll keep posted about that. Alisson and Jota are both injured, which means that Kelleher is going to play in Alisson's place there. Jota being out elevates the X minutes of Darwin and Gakpo and Diaz, especially Diaz as well on the left. There. So Collins is injured and out. Fati and Lamptey are both out with a hamstring and muscle injury for Brighton, respectively. And this is big. This is good news for Chelsea attackers. Bad news for Brighton's defence. Lewis Dunk is suspended. He's suspended for 2 matches. He was a bit lippy to the referee, so he's out there as well. More joining us in the live chat. Thanks so much for joining us, Brian, Omar, Ruth, just a nice guy as well. Lots of questions going on here. Is Kudos going to play? Well, last we heard, there were 2 to 3 members of the West Ham first team who were absent from Europe because of illness. And Kudos was absent. But that's not to say he was absent because of illness. He could have just been rested. But nevertheless, if he was maybe had a cold or something, he should be back. But as far as we know, he should be okay. So he hasn't been flagged or anything because there's been nothing concrete there. So yeah, Kudos is not a player I would definitely recommend removing there. Heinz is in the live chat as well, saying, so many injuries and so many games ahead. Yeah, this is true. Let's have a look at some of these more questions before we move on to... I've got some Fantasy FFScout rate my team top players to put up in a sec. And I've also done a bit of rudimentary research on the captaincy in terms of the opposition facing Salah and Haaland, in terms of Fulham and Spurs. Obviously, Haaland facing Spurs there. I think, basically... they're both great players. They both play for great teams. They both play rubbish defences. So you can take your whichever stats you want to use to fit your own particular narrative. So I've probably done exactly the same, but I'll try and be fair and open to whatever decision you go for as well. Agol 77. Let's put a super chat up. Bench Palmer, Alvarez, or Gordon. That is, if I had all 3, I would bench someone else. I'm not sure how you've got in a predicament. Your team must be amazing. Of those 3, I would be tempted. It would be between Alvarez and Palmer. A reluctant. I don't know. Palmer's on penalties against. please find someone else to bench. They're all good players. We've just heard as well this morning the Manchester United's flight. Look at them protecting the environment. The players' flight all the way to get this Newcastle has been cancelled because of the bad weather. So they're going to have to get a coach. Oh dear, diddums. But that's going to take about 2.5 hours to 3 hours for them, obviously being elite athletes. So they're going to, I don't know, play tiddlywinks on the coach or something with Harry Maguire, whatever they do. But nevertheless, that's going to disrupt their preparation game. So they're not going to be on this lovely first-class flight from Manchester to Newcastle. They're instead going to be on a coach going up the M6 or whatever. So that might play in the hands of Gordon. I definitely want to play Gordon. I definitely want to play Alvarez, I think, against that Tottenham defence. Palmer, reluctant, but please find someone else to bench. Okay, just a nice guy. Should I start White or Livramento? I don't know if White will start. No, I don't think he will. I think Tomiyasu's got his place. It's Tomiyasu's place to lose now. So White will probably come on, as he did in Europe midweek. He'll probably come on. But I would start Livramento, weirdly, because I think you've got a risk of a 1 point there. The risk of 1 point for Livramento as well, but I just think Manchester United, Newcastle are by far the superior team at the moment. Okay. Stephen asks, Watkins, sell or keep? Okay, well let's assume. Okay, you can look at that in two ways with Watkins. Let's assume that he's fine to play. As Stephen points out, he's then got Man City and Arsenal in the next two. And we don't really want him, really. Game week 18, where he's arguably a captaincy shout in a week where Haaland, Man City and Brentford will be missing. So I think anyway, he's removable if you want to hop back on. So yeah, I think so. But if we get the nod that he's just definitely not playing or is still iffy to play, yeah, he's a remove, I think. Just with the fixtures. That's not to say, he won't play, he won't bang in a hat-trick against Bournemouth. That could easily happen. But that's what FPL is. That's what it's all about, making these decisions like that. But I'll look at my team in a bit. We'll see what I did, because I'm facing that exact same dilemma there. Omar, are Solanke, Haaland, Watkins? Oh no, so sorry. He's actually answering a question there as well. So it's a question from Ahmed. Who should I start from? Kalesho and Solanke, also Cash and Porro. Thanks. I don't understand the question. It's poorly phrased, I think, or rather, my brain is poorly looking at that. Let's put it that way. So FPL Rank Chaser says, looking for Joe's analysis on the best captain for this week. Haaland is the most obvious, but I'm open to being persuaded to captain Salah. Well, let's hop into that now. Let's see what the Rate My Team computer or boffins at Fantasy Football Scout say. Well, they basically say Salah and Haaland are the best captains. And they marginally, and this is based on a whole bunch of data to do with the opposition they're playing, the amount of minutes they'll play, whether they're on penalties, their role in their team, their pedigree, all of these types of things, and their form. And Salah against Fulham has got a score of 7.71. So basically, it's the top choice at the moment. And Haaland is just behind at 7.27. So there's not much in it. And Haaland is facing that Spurs back line. Brian Mboma is actually third best, which is why he's so popular this week, playing Luton. And it's a nice little run of games. He's being elevated perhaps a little bit above what he is, but he's good for this run of games before he pops off to AFCON, which, of course, Salah does as well. Saka is also a good punt there. His next bit, Blind Bomo. And fifth place is Odegaard, who, of course, scored midweek in Europe. The other players there, Alexander-Arnold, Jesus at Arsenal, Darwin at Liverpool, who's very popular transfer in, Diaby at Aston Villa, and Luis Diaz at Liverpool, and Trippier at Newcastle. So it's all the big names really there. Okay, here's a tiny bit of analysis. So basically, this is something no sort of content creator wants to say. Flip a coin. Really, they both play terrible defences, and they also are both great. And they both got pedigree, have been really great captains. And frequently, when one gets 16 points, the other one does as well. They both play on Sunday. It's not like, even if you're superstitious about, captaining the early kickoff or anything like that. I mean, they play tomorrow, so you still go through today with some hope. But okay, I mean, you can look at all sorts of stats. There's a nice captaincy article that Hibbo has done at Fantasy Football Scout. Have a look at that. He comes to the conclusion that Haaland is best marginally this week because of Spurs' problems. Also Haaland's record, but that's not to say Salah isn't. They're both good. Out of all the sort of narrative that you can come up with, this is a bizarre narrative I've got, so very small sample size. What I did is I compared all of Fulham's away matches, and I didn't compare them with all of Spurs' away matches, because both Haaland and Salah are at home. I just did it from that Chelsea game where they completely capitulated, exploded, all their players, all their defence either got injured or sent off. So that was the start, really, of the narrative of their defence being rubbish. So I compared them, and it shows average per match. So it's not comparing, obviously, you can't compare like 10 games against 3 games, that kind of thing. So this compares the average that they get each match. And it actually shows that in this massively small sample size, and I didn't come at this with a particular narrative of like pro Haaland captain, but marginally, Spurs' defence is worse than Fulham's has been away so far this season per match, but average per match. So 13.9 goal attempts conceded by Fulham away. Tottenham, since that explosion against Chelsea, they've 16.3, so marginally more. Big chances conceded. I think this is the big one. This is the one that will be fed into the expected goal stats and those expected goal involvement stats. Big chances conceded. Fulham on the road, they're conceding 3 big chances a match. That's a lot. So Salah's going to be a good choice. But Spurs, in this run of their exploding defence, big chances conceded, getting on for nearly 5. It's 4.7, so it's much more. So that would indicate that Haaland is going to profit there. Headed goals conceded. So if Haaland can get his head there, on average of 3.3 a match over that short period where Spurs' defence is very poor and exploded. Meanwhile, Fulham on the road, their headed goal attempts conceded is they're about 2 every match, 2.1 a match as well. So what this says here, Salah and Haaland are both great captains. This doesn't particularly persuade me one way or the other. I have made my decision on the captaincy, and I've done that based on my own personal team, and the way my team is made up. But I do think they're both great captains. It also shows that Darwin Núñez could be a good captaincy shout. So if you own neither, then Darwin Núñez certainly. Look at all those attempts conceded by Fulham, goal attempts conceded in Darwin territory there, so that's quite good. A few more questions I'll go through, and then I'll put up. I've got the goals imminent table and the assists imminent table for those that missed it earlier in the week. These trying to use the stats to predict future returns. So we'll see if there's any big names on there as well. Omar says, any risk captains? Well, there we go. Darwin Núñez would be a great risk captain, but I don't think it's that risky. Looking at the amount of goal attempts that Fulham are going to concede there, I think he could be quite good. Hind asks, bench Palmer or Gordon? I think a reluctant Palmer, but I see if you can find someone else to bench. Watkins to Darwin from -4, so I can go to Porro next week. Well, I mean, this is it makes a good point there. This is from Mr. Key 19 or Mook I 19. Watkins to Darwin from -4. On the face of it, I possibly wouldn't do if you've got a good sub. So if you've got Chris Wood or Archer on the bench there. But it would enable him to beef up another player. So that -4, you've got to think of it in the context. I don't know. I mean, if you get a definite on Watkins being out, yeah, do that. But if you don't, then the chances are Watkins could play. So it would be too risky there. Genel says, Captain Darwin, hat-trick incoming. I was on the FPL Juice show, and they were talking about captaining Darwin there, and I was speculating he was going to score 15 goals. But the more I said it, the more I convinced myself that Darwin could indeed score 15 goals. But they're certainly conceding, getting on 14 goal attempts. So you never know. You never know there. But yeah, I think he would be quite good. Let's have a look. Darwin Núñez and Mbomo for Alvarez and Martinelli, or Núñez, Mbomo and Zinchenko for Alvarez, Bruno and Cash from -4. Do you know what? I wouldn't remove Martinelli this week. He was great in midweek for Europe, and yes, Lens didn't get the memo about doubling up on Martinelli or Saka, but I think this was the first time that they've fielded that sort of lineup with Odegaard there, as well as Havertz, Sporting Jesus, and Martinelli and Saka. So I'd maybe give it, because it's such a good fixture against Wolves. I think I would give it one more week with Martinelli, because I just feel he might do okay. But I do think, I mean, all those players. I think if you can get. It doesn't look like there's any other player to move for. It's Callum asking this question, by the way. It does mention Bruno out, so I would probably swap Bruno for Mbomo and free up that money. Alvarez, I'm tempted to keep this week as well. I just don't think they're worth a -4. Okay, Mariano has highlighted the national scandal here. There's lack of likes as well. So we've got a good couple of hundred of you in the live chat, just 50 likes. So do press that like button. And obviously, if you're not already subscribing, do subscribe to keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. But do press that like button. Mash it, apparently. So it's not smash it, but mash it, says Mariano. Who to bench, says Kuka. Rodri, Visser, or Chris Woods? What? Okay, maybe Rodri. Visser would get, obviously up for Brentford against Luton. Chris Wood, super Chris Wood. In a bit of a garden centre clash, I think Nottingham Forest have got. But nevertheless, I think Rodri, just as defensive midfielder, I don't know, he's playing Spurs. But yeah, that's an unusual combination. And I would almost be tempted to play all of them because they're so different. But yeah, I think you got to bench the guy that's not up top. Even though Rodri's done all right, got a surprise goal in him. But he's more for the Sky game, I think, with the tackles and passes. Ahmed asks, is Cash going to start? Well, we don't know. And if not, should I start Porro over him? Well, I mean, I've got Porro and we'll put my team up. I'm actually going to bench Porro this week, but I think Porro is a great player to have. And I just think that, there's Spurs are in danger of really quite getting hammered, or rather conceding a hell of a lot of goals against Manchester City. Let's have a look. Uproar asks, take Bowen out. It comes with a risk, like all FPL decisions, but yeah, I think so. It's just too risky, and we could get exactly the same from Moyes next week. Oh, he's 50-50. We haven't seen him yet. I need to chat to the medical staff and these types of things. I don't like those. Bowen out, yeah, and Mbomo is a great shout. Yeah, of course he is for Mbomo out. Who should I sign to replace Alisson? Says Mert to the Tractor. Well, if short term, Kelleher will be, cheap and play. But I personally, I'm looking at a goalkeeper change probably next week. And the two names that top of my list are Raya at Arsenal, and just because, double up on that Arsenal defence and, good goalie. I've got Areola myself, and he's about as useful as Alisson, who can't play. I mean, you know what I mean. He's useful for a non-playing Alisson because Areola might as well not be playing. He's had one clean sheet. I've missed it this season, so yeah, not interested in Areola. But the other name is Sanchez, Brighton's old goalkeeper at Chelsea. Especially from Gameweek 16. So if I hold out a bit, I might go for that. Or I might just go in early. But they're the only two goalkeepers I have because they're great value, under 5 million, and they play for elite sides. I say that reluctantly about Chelsea, obviously, but they are top sides. Sebwa is Ait Nori. If Ait Nori is out for longer term, He likes Doherty as a pick. Wolves rather. Wells. That's a city near me. Wolves have a good defensive fixture on the fixture ticker going from game weeks 15 to 20. That's yeah, could be. Yeah, I that's like a peripheral kind of move. Doherty, I think, was sort of yesterday's man in FPL. Yeah, Eunice says Raya is a good shout. Hines says maybe Sanchez. Yeah, these are all good all good shouts. Okay, I've got the goals imminent table here. We showed it earlier in the week just to see. Now on this goals imminent table, for those that don't know, basically if you score more than one goal over the last 4 game weeks, you're off the table in a good way. If you don't, and you don't hit the sort of expected goal delta stats, which means what you're expected to have scored, where you've got the good underlying stats, if they falter down, then you're off the table in a bad way. But if you're on here and you've only scored 1 goal over the last 4 game weeks, but your stats are really good, that tends to mean that you're going to score. We have quite a good success rate with this over each week. So it's usually about half of these players actually get a return for us, and some of them are just get injuries as well. Dope Life has asked about 30 times thoughts on Nketiah starting. Unlikely, so you can no longer ask that question 20 times. It's very unlikely because Jesus, he would have to supplant Jesus, who, but Nketiah could get a game. Can you please stop asking that question, Dope Life? I don't want to have to sort of. Well, I'm going to have to. No, Dope Life, I'm going to ask again, and I'm going to remove you from the live chat if you ask one more time, because I've just given the answer, and asking about 20 times is just sort of clogging up the live chat here. Okay. Yeah, so Darwin Núñez is top of here. So he's had 5 good chances. Oh, God. Hang on a sec. I'm just going to get rid of this guy. Okay, that guy's gone. So goals imminent, game weeks 14, last 4 game weeks. Darwin Núñez has had 6 big chances in total. He's fluffed 5 of them, but he has scored from 1 of them. And this is quite. He's had really good stats here. He's had 21 shots, so he can't stop shooting over the last 4 game weeks. His shots inside the box, 14 out of 21. That's a lot. And his shots on target is 10. So at least half his shots are actually on target as well. His next match is Fulham at home. Expected goal delta is he should have got an extra couple of goals, really. So he shouldn't even be on this table, according to the expected stats there. Hines says Darwin always there. Actually, he's not always there, because he sometimes scores a brace and then he's off the table. So he very rarely is removed from the table in a bad way. He just shoots so often. He's definitely going to be there. Okay. FPL Rank Chaser says, I'll happily be an admin, Joe. I wish you were at the moment. I haven't got the buttons free to make you one at the moment, but that might help that earlier poster there. Meanwhile, Brian Mbomo is next there. 4 big chances missed, 5 big chances in total. Just 4 shots on target. He has scored over the last 4 game weeks. He should have scored at least 1 more. He's had 13 shots, 9 inside the box. That's a really good percentage of shots at close range. And so, it's no surprise that these are 2 of the most sought after players going into game week 14. They've got a good run of fixtures, starting with Brian Mbomo playing Luton. Alvarez at Man City. This is why I'd be reluctant to get rid of him. Yeah, he's had no big chances. Yeah, he's scored no goals. And yeah, he's only had 2 shots on target. But he's had 9 shots and 4 inside the box. And he plays that Tottenham back line next. So I just think I'd be tempted to give Alvarez 1 more go. Ross Barkley at Luton. I think we'll skip over him. Edwards, Gibbs-White, Iwobi, Kuna. And then Bruno Fernandes, quite interesting. 9 shots, 4 on target. And then Semenyo at Bournemouth, 4.6 million defence. So if you've been on a wild card or wild carding and stuff, he could be quite a good option. At least he plays. 9 shots, 6 inside the box, 3 on target. Kareem asks, any risk of Manchester United and Newcastle game be cancelled today? I don't think so. I think the risk was basically Manchester United's luxury flight to Newcastle was cancelled. I think they're going to have to slam it on the roads like the rest of us. I think as far as we know, that is the only option there. Just while we talk here, I'm just going to put up Twitter just so I can see if there's been any moves there. I can't see anything on Watkins at the moment, just to see if there was any change there. But yeah, if you hear of anything in the live chat, do let us know. I've got an assist imminent table as well. So, I mean, names of note here. So this might influence people's transfer decisions. Alexander-Arnold, if you've got the money, 7.9 million he costs, but he has created 9 chances, 12 corners last 4 game weeks. He has got a goal, and he should have got at least an assist from 4 successful crosses he's had as well. Paul H asks, hi, would you sell a Dingra to Palmer for a -4? Well, Palmer is in the assist imminent as well, so he's the next name. So it's a nice smooth segue there. 5.3 million he costs, so he's shooting up in price. I think it was 4.9 million a couple of weeks ago. 7 chances created, 6 corners, 2 goals. Obviously, got those penalties last 4 game weeks. And 1 successful cross and 1 assist. But he's sort of how he is assist wise. His expected assist delta, whether he's like minus, as in should be scoring more, or plus, or overperforming, is pretty much bang on, really. So I've penciled in Palmer for game week 16. But so I think a Dingra to him, if you've got no other moves to make, is fine, because I think the Dingra, certainly his minutes are at risk. There's a lot of games coming up, and also De Zerbi it sort of indicates he's not going to rest players in Europe. So they've got a final match. They want to win the group against Marseille. So it's a sort of a playoff, really, to win the group. So Marseille and Brighton are through. But whoever wins the group obviously gets less matches in that European competition. So it's quite handy there. Another name here is Mohamed Salah. Remember him? Anyway, pricey. He's going to be the captain for many. And we all know about his goal potential. He's had 3 goals in the last 4 game weeks. But his assist potential is starting to come through. So he started off being in a more creative role for Liverpool. And then he was more about goals. He's starting to be a bit more creative again. He's had a couple of successful crosses there, and he's had 1 assist, created those 9 chances in the last 4 game weeks as well. So that indicates that he could be a good asset there in terms of goal, that nice spread of goals and assists as well, especially going back to that goals imminent table with Darwin Núñez at top. John Lowler has got some information on from Oscar FPL Focal. Has tweeted that Watkins nothing concrete, and a decision will be made closer to kick-off. I thought it would be the case there, so I can't quite clarify that, but that does seem, I did think that would be the case. So as we reported yesterday, there was nothing concrete there. They were going to look at how he was today, and if they're still a bit iffy, I think Watkins is a remove. Few questions here, who I'm going to captain. We've had some questions about what to do with Watkins, what to do with Bowen, perhaps. So now seems quite an opportune time to put my team up. And let's see what I've done. So I went into this. I'm 144,000th in the world. I went into this with Bowen and Watkins and two free transfers. So here's my team. Bowen, gone. Watkins, gone. And also, I've sort of switched my captain because of my moves. So this should answer some of those questions who I'm going to captain, who I've got. So I'll read out my team. I've got some weak links, but I'm fairly okay with this. I've got Areola in goal in a 3-5-2. Tsimikas home to Fulham, Gabriel at home to Wolves, and Anderson for Palace. I'm going to give him another go away to West Ham. Meanwhile, I've got Salah, who's my vice captain. Son away to City. Saka at home to Wolves. Brian Mbomo is in for Bowen. That was a fairly easy move I did yesterday. I don't like the question marks over Bowen. Brian Mbomo looks a great asset for the next few game weeks. Adingra stays. I was tempted to move him to Parma with my other free transfer, but I made another move. So I'm quite happy to go into this with Adingra. If he doesn't play at all, which he may not, Archer is my first sub, ready to come on. He's playing Burnley away, so I'm quite happy with that. But meanwhile, Adingra, if he comes on the last 20 minutes, I can't see, with Fatty out, and obviously he's sort of replacing March. He can play on the left instead of Matoma, but I can't see Matoma missing out against Chelsea. I can't see Adingra missing out. I think the next few fixtures we might see Adingra move, but I think he'll play in this one. I think Buonanotte is the only one who could really replace him. But I mean, De Zerbi has sort of been a bit lukewarm on Buonanotte, so even if he does start, I can see Adingra playing 45 minutes at least. Maybe the last 30 minutes. I'll take that. I'll take that. It's the weakest link in my setup, though. Up front, I've got Haaland captain. For a lot of the reasons we've spoken about, he's playing Spurs. He's great. But to be honest, I'd be happy with him or Salah. And I've got Darwin in for Watkins. I don't like, same reasons for Bowen. I don't like 50-50s. I don't like managers saying, we'll see, we'll make a late call. And with the fixtures coming thick and fast, I do think it's time to move on. And as he's got Arsenal and Man City in the next three anyway. So Darwin is in. And I've got a feeling this is the first time in FPL I've ever owned Darwin. And the first time I've ever owned Brian Mbomo. Because I haven't owned Mbomo this season. And last season, if I wanted a Brentford attacker, well, I'd get Ivan Toney. I never really went for Brian Mbomo. I would get like a defender and Ivan Toney. So this is new for me. So I want to see what all the fuss is about. So hopefully they do me well. Alex Martin asks, which club does this guy support? Is that me? If that's me, I support Brighton. And Eunice has kindly answered him, Brighton, who are through in Europe. And 26 years ago were one goal against Hereford away from exiting the entire league and being in, back then, whatever it was called, the Conference League, I think it was. Okay. Fonzie asked, Joe, are you planning on bringing in a Wolves asset next week? No. I'm not. Okay. So yeah, some of the hopefully my team will answer a few of those questions there. If you've got Watkins, I personally think getting Darwin or Isak are very good alternatives, because I don't like 50-50s. That's not to say Watkins can play and get a hat-trick. I just don't think he's fit. I think he's got 3 games in quick succession, 2 of them against Arsenal and Man City are too tough. Whereas Darwin has got Fulham and then he's got Sheffield United. So he's got an array of good games. And, you know, I've never owned these players, so go for them. So part of my rationale of captaining Haaland is basically because I've got Tsimikas, Salah and Darwin. I mean, I'm really stocked up on Liverpool now. So I feel I can get some strong returns from Liverpool. But say, for example, Fulham really turn up. Paulinho just has a masterclass in defensive midfield and just completely blocks their attack. I mean, it's not going to happen, but you never know. Then, I mean, I've got, and Salah was my captain as well. That's just too much for me. Meanwhile, I've only got Haaland in that attack, so I don't have Alvarez, I don't have Doku or any of these other players. So that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be doing, really. So I'm going to captain those. So that's what I say. It's specific to me. Meanwhile, on my bench, I've got Turner. He doesn't play. Archer, I think he's a good first sub for his 2 points, but at least he'll play. And Pedro Porro, I think could get a minus, but he could also get an assist. But yeah, I don't think he'll do so well against City this week. But I'm really pleased I kept on hold of him. I was going to get rid of him a couple of weeks ago, but then Maddison got injured, and then you know, as it was transpiring, you know, Porro's on much more set pieces, and that's it. So he's been in my team a while now, and the last 2 game weeks he's got an assist a game, and he's outscored Son for half the price. So Porro's going nowhere for me. It was Son who was going to go earlier, but the news about Bowen and also Watkins as well has said to me, look, I mean, at least Son's going to play. You know, he's a potential captaincy shout, Gameweek 18, it's worth keeping. And another weak link in my side is Lamptey. I got him in because, you know, I thought he might be back by Gameweek 18, but he's injured again. So for me, I'm looking next week. I've now find myself with 1.4 million in the bank. So I can start looking at some upgrades here. I mean, I think I should be okay with my defence next week. But it's Areola and Lamptey are the ones I'd be looking to upgrade. So game week 15, I think. Let's put the fixtures up. Just to remind myself as well what's happening. So game week 15. So for example, West Ham play Tottenham. So I'm going to be going in with Son and Porro. So I really don't want to be playing Areola, and I've only got Turner there. So that looks like a good time for me to upgrade him to either Raya at Arsenal, who's got Luton up next, or go for Chelsea, Robert Sanchez, who's got Manchester United up next. I mean, for this sort of short-term fixture up to sort of game week 20, Sanchez has got by far the better fixtures. He's got Sheffield United in that run, Everton, Crystal Palace, Luton, Wolves. Whereas Arsenal's clean sheet wise, they've got Villa, Brighton, Liverpool. It gets better with West Ham, Fulham, and obviously that Luton game week 15. So I think I'm obviously used my wild card already. So I think Raya could get the nod there. So just going back to my team there, I'd be looking at Areola up to Raya. And then that falls quite neatly in game week 16 for Adingra to become Palmer. And I'll have the money to do both of those moves because I've got 1.4 million in the bank. So those moves are sort of what I'm planning. But, best laid plans. I didn't plan to remove Watkins, but that's transpired. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't plan to move Bowen. But I have. So who knows what is going to happen there. So let's go back to those fixtures again, because we've got game week 14. So any moves that you're making now, so we've got another quarter. You've got another quarter of an hour to make any moves. So that might be from -4, or you might be saving all of your moves up till now. But if you're looking at making moves, don't think entirely about game week 14. Look at I like to look when you get these fixtures in batches. I like to look at game week 14. So for this one, 14, 15, 16. So game week 15 deadline is Tuesday, and then the following weekend we got game week 16. And I look at those in a block. So I'm not necessarily looking at what I'm going to get in game week 14. I'm looking at what I'm going to get in that block, and that's what these sort of transfers are aimed at, really. That's why I'm going for Brian and Bomo. You've got Luton, you've got Brighton, you've got Sheffield United. That's a lovely little run of games there. And the same with Darwin Núñez. Got Fulham, Sheffield United, and Crystal Palace. It's a nice, lovely little run of games there. So I don't know. Say you'd be really hopeful of getting 70 each week or something like that. So if I could end up from game week 14, 15, 16 with 200 points, that'd be amazing. I'd be really pleased with that. I'd be really, 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 really pleased with that. That'd be amazing. But it might not. I might end up with 150 points or 100 points if it's really bad. But I look at it in those blocks really, and that's the way I'm looking at there. So that might influence people whether they're thinking about getting Darwin in for Watkins. You look at so say Watkins is fit, which he's not. It's 50-50. He's got Bournemouth up next, but then he's got Man City and Arsenal, so it doesn't get worse than that. And then he's got Brentford away, so he's not even great in game week 17, really. Before game week 18, annoyingly, he's got a great fixture, home at Sheffield United, arguably the best. Meanwhile, looking at Liverpool's fixtures, you've got Fulham, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Manchester United. I always think Liverpool, Manchester United. Obviously, it's not a local derby, but it's a anything goes kind of clash there. There could be an anything score. Then it gets tougher with Arsenal, game week 18. Then Burnley away in game week 19. So good fixture again. But I do think with the fixtures there, I do think there's room to change. Another one. With Newcastle, so I was faced with that decision. So everyone's thinking Darwin Núñez. I think Isak is a great choice as well. I think he'll get the minutes. I think even if Gordon goes up front, it'll probably be more at the end of games. I think Isak is going to get a lot of minutes. There's no Wilson there. We did a talisman table on the Goals Imminent video a couple of weeks ago. Isak is Newcastle's talisman. He's heavily involved when he's on the pitch, with goals. And he's got Manchester United next, who will be very tired after having to get the coach up like us, not mere mortals. And then they've got Everton, Tottenham's back line, and then Fulham, Luton. I mean, this is really good, actually. Fulham, Luton, and Nottingham Forest up to Gameweek 19. Then Liverpool. I mean, that if we think Wilson's not going to play, I'm just going to get a sip of water, because for some reason talking non-stop for 45 minutes has affected my throat. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. So yeah, Isaac, with those fixtures there, Manchester United, Everton, Tottenham, Fulham, Luton, Nottingham Forest up to Gameweek 19. They're fantastic fixtures. I was very tempted. I made that move last night. And yeah, part of me thinks maybe I should have got Isaac, but I've done that now. I've made my Darwin Núñez bed, so I've got to lie in that. And first time as well. First time with Darwin Núñez and Bomo in my team. So, yeah, you know, quite looking forward to that. I'm quite looking forward to my 2 points and all those crossbars being hit by Darwin Núñez, but we shall see. Brian Mbumo was doing that a couple of seasons ago, and he's being a bit more prolific now. Okay. I'll put my team up again, just for those maybe joining us a bit later in the live chat. Just want to see what I've done there. So just to recap, I'm going to captain Haaland. I've got Darwin in for Watkins. I've got Mbomo in for Bowen. I consider them pretty dullard moves, getting in players that I think can get me good returns over the next few matches, not just this one, for players that are 50-50 on the injury front. But what I'll do is, while we got the last 10 minutes or so, I'll try and go through so many more questions. So if you've got any more questions in the live chat, do put them in. So some of them, so John Powers, I'll go with sell Alvarez for Darwin. I possibly wouldn't do that because I think Alvarez will play while De Bruyne is out, and I think that Spurs. I think Man City could score a lot of goals. I think you could get some returns from Alvarez there. I personally wouldn't do that. Yeah, Hind asked any plans about Adingra to Palmer or Gordon. Yeah, as I said, Adingra to Palmer in Game Week 16 is something I'm considering, but not just yet. I think I can wait for that. I think next week, Areola. I really don't want to play West Ham a goalie against Spurs. I mean, as bad as Spurs' defence is, I do think that Areola's the just too much of a weak link in my team. I'd like to get Raya or Sanchez. There we go. Leon is saying he's going for 4-4-2 for the first time this season. Watkins and Bowen on the bench, and he's brought in Keller. So yeah, okay, that is an option there as well. I mean, I've done that a few times. I didn't bench Bowen, but Bowen was effectively benched for me last week, and I kept him. I just think the more it goes on, probably because I do the team news every week with Neil, you start to pick up, when managers start to say things, and you get the gist that they're not sort of entirely telling the truth. Not entirely telling the truth. They're not giving you the entire truth. So, Bowen just has not trained, and he's got alleged fluid on the knee. Could be, I don't know. He could be back, might not be. And I don't like that uncertainty as well. Scruffy, should you sell Son for Mbomo? What do you think? No, I was considering that earlier in the week, so there is merit in that. Going back to the next 6 fixtures, Son does have City, but then he's got West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, that's tough. But then game 17, Nottingham Forest, then Everton. And I think that's what swayed me, really. I just thought long-term, I'd probably want to keep Son. And I think Spurs' defence will eventually get better. Romero's going to be back soon from his suspension. So I think they will get a little bit better. Brian says, Joe, regarding your plan to get Adingra out for Palmer in 16, isn't that Brighton versus Burnley fixture better than Chelsea versus Everton? Yes, but I don't know if Adingra's going to play. So as we're sort of getting into Europe, we're getting to the end of... We've had these... for example, if Adingra is benched in game week 15, then I probably wouldn't make that move. Yeah, so Brian's right there, because that would indicate that Adingra is going to play game week 16, going to start there. But I do think long term, looking at Brighton's fixtures, yes, they've got Burnley in game week 16, but then it's got Arsenal, Crystal Palace. That's an anything goes game because of the derby, and then they got Tottenham and West Ham. Meanwhile, Parma's fixtures from game week 16 has got Everton, Sheffield United, Wolves, Crystal Palace and Luton. So yeah, arguably Parma, Adingra to Parma can definitely wait till game week 17. But it's more, so if Adingra starts this week against Chelsea and then also plays game week 15 and starts that match, then game week 16, I'd be very surprised to see Adingra starting there. Just because, I mean, I know Brighton have got the most injuries to first teamers out of any team in the Premier League at the moment, but I'd still be very surprised if Adingra, he's very young, will be played all of those matches, when I think he'll be also needed against Marseille in that final match as well. Eunice, cash to Saliba or bring in Raya for Areola, or Leno in his case. They're both good moves. Yeah, I mean, they're both not necessarily now. So you could do cash to Saliba, one of those moves this week and one next week if you've got nothing else to do. But I think they're both good moves, and I don't think they're worth doing for a hit. Though, David asks, Joe, hi Joe, any thoughts on Jesus as a replacement for Watkins? Yeah, no. I think Nunez and Isak are better in terms of the fixtures coming up, and also with Arsenal, I'm still a little unsure who's going to get all of the goals. There's no sort of, let's say for example, Isak is the talisman in terms of goals for Newcastle. Darwin Nunez, he's not going to play every game, but he's favoured up front in a very, very attacking Liverpool side. And I just feel with Arsenal, I think the goals could come from Martinelli, could come from Saka, Odegaard, Havertz as well can come through. There seems to be more scope now for that sort of attacking 8 midfielder to come in. And Jesus could get returns, might not, but I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be sort of a differential in amongst a lot of mini leagues, but I do think that Darwin Nunez and Isak are better. So Jesus would be my third choice. Big Tings 84, thoughts on Trent for cash from -4. Yeah, I actually quite like that. Weirdly, I mean, I find myself with a bit more money, 1.4 million, but other people will find themselves with more. I don't know with a -4 though. Yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't for a -4, but I do think that's a good move if you can make that upgrade. I think Alexander-Arnold will be a good choice. Good. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong there. I think he's going to get assists and clean sheets. So my voice is going again. I think David usually does this. So amazing that he can talk for an hour. I presume he has a few glasses of water midway, or he's superhuman. Bloody Pac-Man asks, bloody Pac-Man. Sonta and Bomo or Saka? That's tough, isn't it? All three, potentially. I'd be. That's really tough. I think Saka, but I just wouldn't do that move. I think Son's really good to have. I've sort of changed my mind during the week about Son. I think he'll be okay. And I think he could even get a return against City. I probably just wouldn't make either of those moves. So you've got 6 more minutes left for deadline. Dennis asks, stick with Turner or do a couple of weeks punt on Kelleher, who's 3.9 million or 4 million now. 3.9 million, I think. But yeah, he's he's going to be better than Turner because he's going to play, but he's probably only going to play for 3 game weeks, 4, 5 maybe. So longer term, But if you've got, I mean, in my case, I've got Turner. So yeah, if you've got no other moves to make, I would do that. Leroy Rowland, Ferguson, or João Pedro. Both and neither. Now, I have owned both of those this season. I've got a goal out of the 2 or 3 game weeks I own Pedro. I got a hat-trick out of the 2 game weeks I own Ferguson. And that's what you're dealing with. Either of them could get returns. Either of them could do really well. They could get a brace, a hat-trick. Either of them could be benched. I think with Fatty out and Welbeck out, it does promote both of them there. But there's still some comments from De Zerbi saying he feels he can get more out of Pedro. Yes, he did well in Europe, but he feels he can get more out of him. So I do think Pedro being benched is still likely. Lallana still plays attacking midfield, which is sort of Pedro's role. I think with Ferguson, would be slightly more secure, but he's not on penalties. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit sitting on the fence, but both and neither. I just wouldn't go for either at the moment. I mean, I've got a Dingra, but he's very, very cheap in my sides, and he was sort of a placeholder for Palmer. So, so sort of a logic to that. Looking through Forster, bench 1 of Trippier, Gabriel, or Simicas. Reluctantly, even though he's playing Fulham. I just think Trippier and the Arsenal defence are elite, really. Or maybe Gabriel. But don't bench Trippier. Trippier's just not one of those players you bench. It's like Leighton Baines. That always used to be the rule with him. Never bench, never captain. Always play him. Don't be tempted to captain him. And I think Trippier's the same there. You know, he could get you a really good haul, but he might just get you 2 points. Don't captain him, but yeah, definitely play him. Mohammed asks, Bowen to Gordon or Watkins to Isak? That's tough. Both good moves. If you can't do both and you only want to do one, I would be tempted to do Watkins to Isak myself, just because Watkins' next couple of fixtures aren't great anyway. So say he's fit. Say Bowen is back. So West Ham's fixtures, they've got Tottenham away and then Fulham away and then Wolves at home. So I think fixture-wise, if Bowen's back, he's got better immediate fixtures. And it's not really until game week 18 you're going to want Watkins back with the fixtures anyway. So I think Watkins to Isak would be good, and Bowen, and fingers crossed, he's put a little praying sign there that Bowen's okay. But to take your pick, they're both 50-50 and they're both good players. Sell Bowen for no minus. Yeah, I think Bowen out, especially from Bomo. One of those are players, if you're lacking them, is good. Gordon and Palmer are both good options as well. Trying to attack Eunice, trying to attack these next 2 Arsenal fixtures since I've lost him now. Since they seem most likely for clean sheets. Defence has been giving me 1s and 0s a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's my thought for next week. Get Raya in. And a lot of people have got Saliba and Gabriel, or Zinchenko and Gabriel, or whatever, Saliba, you know, a mixture of those two defenders. And I do think it's a nice differential getting that defence. Just 2 more minutes to go until deadline. I'll just check that my watches are accurate. So if you are going to be making those moves, do make them now. Adam asks, is Watkins out? We don't know, 50-50. Dennis, a reminder, get your teams in quickly, boys. He said, and girls as well. There's boys and girls here. Uproar, start Cash or Mitchell. I would start neither. No, I mean, I'm starting Anderson. Crystal Palace against Wolves. He's a sort of but I don't know. Part of me's thinking I might get a goal out of him, but I think probably Mitchell. I think Bournemouth will score. Solanke's in good form. Smukesh asks Areola or Johnston. Johnston, just because I've got Areola. I'm playing him, but he's rubbish. Bowen out, yes. Lots of questions about Watkins. We don't know about Watkins and Bowen. They're 50-50. That's what you're buying into. You've got 1 more minute left to make any changes. Eunice says, I can compare on Trippier. Benched him against Arsenal. I had 9 points sitting on my bench. So, yeah, the Leighton Baines rule is there. Uproar. Salah captain's going for there. Good luck with that move. Salah and Haaland are both good captaincy shouts. You can't go wrong until one of them blanks, and that could make it quite a swingy week. We've reached that time. It's 1:30. So if you haven't made your move yet, I think it may be a bit too late. You might just be in, but I think the game has pens down, as Ankerstrom has said there. My voice is going. I've been rattling on for an hour or so now. I hope we've given everyone a lot to think about. We've had a look at those sort of goals imminent tables. We've had a look at the fixtures that are on the screen. A bit of planning, and as I said, I look at Gameweek 14, 15, 16 as sort of a block, a nice little block there. And I'll put my team up again. Irrelevant now, but this is what these are the troops I'm going into with this. So others may be similar. Good luck, whoever you're captaining. Good luck, whoever you brought in. David, I think, will be back next week for the deadline. There's a bit of changes next week, so we've got the midweek games. So goals imminent is on at the usual time. We also have a team news on Tuesday. Myself and Tom are doing a team reveal video. We're going to be recording that on Monday. I'm not sure when that's going out, but we're recording that on Monday. We'll have Scoutcast, burning questions, all the good stuff all week as well, and the deadline dilemmas, which is one of my favourites that Praz and Flapjack do. I think that really sort of irons out a lot of those decisions just before the press conferences and the sort of things to look out for. Thanks everyone for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to go and get some more water now so I can catch my voice, and hopefully we all get lots of points. Thanks a lot for your time. See you soon.